Financial. You can voice your opinion by calling 672-KROE. That's 672-5763. Now, your host for Public Pulse, Floyd Whiting.
Good morning and welcome to Public Pulse. Now, recently, the Sheridan Community Land Trust released its first Sheridan County Water Supply Report. This report contains the latest information on water availability, stream flow, snowpack, drought, soil moisture, and water supply forecasts for the Tongue and Powder Rivers. To talk about this, I am joined this morning by Sheridan Community Land Trust Conservation Program Manager, that's a mouthful, Megan, Megan Kent, and Big Sky Watershed Corps member, Lila Walker, and Director of Marketing and Development out at SCLT, of course, Mr. Chris Verba. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Great morning, Floyd.
It is a great morning. It's a little chilly.
Proving your Bender God theory, here we are.
Absolutely, right? Now,
it was a Freudian slip.
A Freudian slip?
A Freudian slip.
I like how you added that. That's pretty good. All right. Now, for anyone who may not know, what is a watershed?
So a watershed is the land surrounding river that water flows down into the river. So it's basically an area of land that contributes water to a certain stream or a river.
How did you come to study watersheds?
I got a geology degree from Whitman College, and I, throughout that process, realized I was really interested in water. And I sort of took a wrong turn where I worked in an asbestos lab for 6 months and then decided I wanted to get back into water. And so I came up to Sheridan to do some more work with that.
An asbestos lab?
Yeah.
Wow. What do you do in an asbestos lab?
Well, you take samples of drywall and you peel them apart and look at them under a microscope. I learned a little bit too much about drywall and tiles.
Yeah. Okay.
So they put her in the tool shed for that, and your question with watersheds, it's important to remember they are not sheds where you put water.
Exactly. And watersheds are extremely important to communities throughout the United States. This is essentially where we get our drinking water, where everything comes from, right?
Exactly.
Now, explain just real quick, like the science behind a watershed. When we look at a watershed, because there's a huge watershed project going on over in Buffalo as well, where they're trying to mitigate any fuels that could possibly destroy that shed. So I think this is it's a years-long plan to cut that back so that if a fire did occur, their water supply wouldn't be contaminated. So how would, say, like a fire on the hill affect a watershed?
Yeah, so watershed, like pretty much any part of the land is part of a certain watershed. And I think what you're talking about is fires remove a lot of the plants holding dirt onto the hillside. And so when you do that, you have a lot more material and sediment from the fire and from the hillside itself that get into the water and can make it harder to create clean drinking water, since a lot of the sources for drinking water are up in the mountains. So if you get a fire, the water utilities are very worried about what might come down into the river from the fire area.
Absolutely. Ash and God knows what else could be produced up there. Now, how did this report come about? Who sat down and said, you know what, we need something that basically just gives us all the information at once?
Mm-hmm. I think that we were focused on how we could help improve watershed health and drought resiliency in Sheridan County. And so we did a survey of the community members to sort of figure out where Sheridan Community Land Trust could best put our energy and efforts into helping them. And one area we found was that accessibility of data and information would be really helpful. And so we decided to put together a report that brings together a whole bunch of resources to help farmers and community members better be aware of water in Sheridan County and make decisions based around water.
I mean, how valuable is this information to a farmer and a rancher to be able to go to one report and get information regarding just about anything having to do with water that you could ever want. How long did this take to really develop?
I think the report itself took a couple of months, but we have been working for about a year and a half to get to this point. So I think I worked really hard to try to find good resources and reliable resources to put in the report.
Absolutely.
And Floyd, on top of that, as Lila's speaking about a year and a half of work going into this, there were a couple of predecessors to Lila as well. If you recall Maggie DeFazzi we had last year, and she's actually working up for Big Sky Watershed Corps right now. So she continued on with that organization and is actually helping oversee Lila's work down here. So it's been a really nice continuation, and kind of the through thread throughout the entire project has been, we're not trying to take an idea and put it on the community. We're actually going out to our community and asking them, hey, how can we help you? What information would be helpful for you? What do you know? What don't you know? What would you like to know? And so that whole process has involved like community surveys. Like I remember this spring, if you recall, when we had the Tongue River Reservoir meetings in the spring because Montana was going to call their share. I went to that meeting. I handed out surveys to everybody. We used data from that. I spent some time at the Mayfly this spring talking to folks there. We've given them out at Third Thursdays. We've had people answer them on our website from a whole lot of sources, right? And so as that information got compiled together, we were able to see some patterns like what Lila's been talking about. And now here is the initial fruit of all of that labor.
Absolutely.
Really good time in harvest, right?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Like, where are your sources? Where do you get the majority of this information from? Are there government agencies that keep track of this stuff?
Yeah, so a couple of the places we've gotten information from is NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency. They have a climate prediction center that puts out a lot of great information. We also have some snowpack and precipitation data from the USDA/NRCS. And then there's a website called drought.gov that has a bunch of good information compiled by like NIDIS, which does some drought information. They gather some information about drought and put that all together. So there's a lot of different agencies out there that's putting a lot of work into creating resources, but it can be hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As someone who has to do a lot of research, I can tell you that it gets to be a bit of a pain to sit there and go, okay, where am I going to get this information from? Where am I going to get that? Even just as a reporter myself, having this report, I mean, the potential for news stories is amazing. I can give reports on droughts. I can tell people where to go to find various information. I think everybody appreciates all this work that's been put into this thing. And would you say a year and a half? Huh? Right?
And now, Floyd, into your emails inbox once a month, we can deliver you a one-stop shop for all of those fantastic news stories that would benefit folks here in the Sheridan Media Land. Right?
Yeah. Now,
Sheridan County, some of Johnson County, because this covers the Tongue River drainages as well as the Powder River drainages, because that's what drains our area, right? So this is important for everyone on the eastern slope of the Bighorns and really as you move out into the eastern part of the county. Now,
absolutely.
we have a fun fact for you.
What's that fun fact?
Lila, how are we doing with drought right now?
Right now, we're in the best situation we've been in for drought for 2 years, which is exciting. It's pretty local, but as far as like drought coverage, Sheridan County is in a good place right now.
As we're going into the winter.
Yeah.
So we're sitting kind of pretty.
I hope so, yeah.
We never know what's going to happen when it comes to the winter. We're looking for a great snowfall, but we can never guarantee that, can we?
Exactly.
Now, Lila, if I sit down with this report, what am I going to see?
So what you're going to see first and foremost is on the first page is the U.S. Drought Monitor, which gives you a really great overview of drought and water conditions overall in the entire U.S. We focus mostly on Wyoming, of course, but if you look at one resource, this is a very good broad overview. And then we also have some snowpack data, some precipitation data. These are good for irrigators and just people who are growing crops on land to just know how much water is out there. And we have both forecasts and past, because when you ask people, it's good to know what has been happening in the last month, but people also are just very curious about, like, that's good, but what about the future?
What can I expect?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And there's always uncertainty that needs to be taken into account when you look at these predictions, but it can sort of help you get a general idea what might happen.
We were talking about margin of error on Friday's show. There's always a margin of error. Yeah.
Yeah. And so people definitely need to be aware of that when they're looking at the predictions, but they're very good resources.
It's the best information available.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
if we're going to make a prediction, this is how to do it, right?
Yeah. And then some other things we have are stream flow, temperature, and precipitation. And if you're curious about any of them, I can explain why they might be important when looking at water supply and drought.
Please do.
Okay, yeah. So basically, as you might imagine, high temperatures and low precipitation cause not only there to be less water available, but more evaporation, and plants will actually use more water and evapotranspiration rates. And so knowing how hot it is, if it's above or below normal, and how much rain you've got sort of tells you short term, like, how much water is being used. And then we also have soil moisture, which is really interesting because moisture soils take a while to dry out and moisten, and so they sort of are, and they are also like the direct source of plants. Like, plants use the moisture in the soil, so it sort of buffers improvement and degradation, and also is exactly like where the plants pull from. So we have some soil moisture there, which is really interesting. And then we have some stream flow and some reservoir storage, where if you're an irrigator or you just have land around a stream, it might tell you, like, what the conditions look like there. And then, as I said before, we have snowpack, which is because the Bighorns in the system is a snowpack run system. So the snowpack in the winter really tells you how much water is going to be coming down the mountains in the spring, and we're very reliant on that. And so our local NRCS office also puts out, and has been putting out for a while, a local snowpack report. And that's another great resource to look at, and is one of our inspirations for starting this. And then precipitation is, if you aren't irrigating, how much water might you be getting?
In general.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, if I was a listener out there, and I'm like, boy, this sounds great, where can I find it?
So if you go to SheridanCLT.org, we have a
Go to Sheridan CLT, like communitylandtrust.org/water. And on that page, you will see you can click a button to download the monthly report. So our next report's going to come out probably after the first week of November. So you'll be able to get that. It'll be there. There's also a button that takes you to a form where you can sign up to get on that list each month, and we'll send it right out to you first.
Great.
I think I know where you might want to go, Floyd, right after this.
This is once a month then.
Yeah, this is a monthly one-stop shop report. Now, some of that data that's in this month's report might not be in there every month, because some of that data isn't released each month, but the totality of the report will be there. And we're going to make it as easy as we can for you to be able to get that report and get your hands on that information. You know, it's important clearly for folks in the ranching and agricultural community, but it's also important for folks like me who like to recreate. I want to know stream levels.
Yeah, exactly. Sportsmen, anglers, really,
and especially, or if you're taking advantage of our absolutely fantastic Tongue River Water Trail with its 14 access sites throughout the county, or, you know, if you, especially that SNOTEL report can be really helpful for folks who are going up and doing a little bit of backcountry skiing in the winter. As we talked about soil moisture, it's real important for folks who are gardening or doing anything out in their yards to plan, because, the unfortunate side effect is in this arid climate we have, as that temperature goes up, boy, that ground's going to dry out awful quickly, because, boy, it's just sun beating down on it, as we experienced this summer, right? And thankfully here in our region, we got some real timely rains to help out with that. But overall, you saw another hot, dry summer, especially once July took hold.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Hey, and interestingly, as we'll talk about here pretty soon, the deer have been moving out of the bighorns and back down a little bit later this year than they had in previous years. And maybe that might be connected to us having a pretty dang warm fall so far. I don't know.
Well, we'll talk about that when we come back. More with the Sheridan Community Land Trust. Stick around. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Hi, I'm Michael Lansing, and I'm running for trustee of the Sheridan County School District Number 2. To set the record straight and stop any rumors, I am not the attorney suing the school district. However, I have represented teachers, parents, school districts, and students around the state of Wyoming in various school matters. I am running to ensure all voices are heard. I will push for public comment and build back public trust in a civil matter. We are a great school district. I will strive to make it even better. I'm pro-teacher, pro-parent, and most importantly, pro-student. Paid for by the candidate, Michael Lansing.
Plan to attend the Caleb Shrine Christmas Bazaar this weekend at the Shrine Temple in Sheridan. Sale hours are 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Enjoy shopping and a lunch with Indian tacos and pie for just $15. They'll have hourly door prize drawings, and you'll want to purchase raffle tickets for a custom-built fly rod and reel, a custom-tooled leather satchel, a Ligursky meat certificate, or a Visa gift card. The Caleb Shrine Christmas Bazaar this Saturday, 8 to 2 at the Sheridan Caleb Shrine Temple.
Ever feel like the Republicans' only job is to lose gracefully? We're left with record inflation and the sexualization of our kid. Maybe you're fed up. I'm Ken Pendergraft, Republican for House District 29. I need your vote to help end politics as usual. Paid for by the committee to elect Ken Pendergraft to House District 29. I am Ken Pendergraft, and I approve this message. You should too.
As we enter the fall months, have you made that plan to market your business? Are you stuck? Confused on what to do? Hi, this is Bob Grammons, General Manager at Sheridan Media. Let us help you put a plan in place as we gear up for the holiday season. Sheridan Media can market your business on up to 9 different radio stations. We can place your print ad in front of nearly 18,000 households in Sheridan and Johnson County with the Country Bounty, or market your business worldwide through a variety of digital products that we offer. We can also place your ad on our 2 websites. Let our creative and experienced marketing team put a well-thought-out and professional, comprehensive marketing plan together to connect with your customers on multiple media platforms. No high pressure. Let's tell your story, whether locally or across the country. Call Sheridan Media today at 672-7421 or email sales@sheridanmedia.com and let us go to work for you.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, brought to you by Eliason Financial. This morning, I am with Sheridan Community Land Trust Conservation Program Manager, Megan Kent, Big Sky Watershed Corps member, Lila Walker, and Director of Marketing and Development out at Sheridan Community Land Trust, Mr. Chris Verba. Now, recently, the Land Trust has been holding fence removing gatherings. That's right. These friendly fencing projects are part of the Bighorn Fence Initiative, which includes the Sheridan Community Land Trust and Mule Deer Foundation of Wyoming. It removes key barriers to wildlife movement across pastures. Now, you sent me some information regarding this Doe 184. Chris, who and what is Doe 184?
Well, Doe 184 is a pretty special deer, if for no other reason than I happened to bump into her about a month ago. So as we were trying to adjust a picture there for our viewers online,
There you go.
I bumped into her while I was up fishing along the North Tongue. She was over near Bull Creek, and as I have happened to do each summer, when I see a collar on them, I always take a picture, and I get a hold of the lead researcher, Carrie Kyle, down at the University of Wyoming, and I go, "Hey, Carrie, I found this deer. Can you tell me a little bit about her?" And Doe 184 is actually particularly special because Doe 184 is one of 6 deer in the collar survey with confirmed parentage. She's actually the fawn of Doe 199, who had been collared earlier. And in fact, Doe 184 and her mother, Doe 199, were first collared near Horse Mesa, southwest of Shell Canyon, on March 5th. And they traveled up the mountain to their summer range. And interestingly, they spent most of the summer apart. But we just found out, in fact, I got the email from Carrie this morning, that Doe 184 and Doe 199 regrouped with each other on October 10th and moved back down to an area near Horse Mesa at Hideout Creek, reached their winter range together on October 14th. So that was a total movement of 13 miles. And it will be interesting to see. Hopefully both of them survive the winter. And interesting to find out how their movements might go next summer. Do they spend time apart? As deer 184, becomes fully adult, does she wind up hanging around her mom, when she has fawns of her own? I am not a deer biologist by any stretch of the imagination. And, I also have an interesting addendum to that, too. And you heard me allude to we've seen deer moving back out of the mountains a little bit later this year. Last summer, I spotted Doe 37. And this year, she moved back down to winter range again outside Dayton on October 14th and got there on October 18th. Which she was moving in like September 24th, 25th, each of the past 2 years. So substantially longer this season. Now, what caused that would only be my speculation.
Now,
But
all of this is about, it's all part of the Northern Bighorns Mule Deer Movement study. Megan, can you tell me what this is?
Yeah, so the Northern Bighorns Mule Deer Movement study, I believe it's been going on about 2.5 years now. So it started before I came here. But the Sheridan Community Land Trust and a number of other partners worked with Wyoming Migration Initiative to fund this study looking at mule deer movements in the Northern Bighorns. And why that happened is that there's some studies showing how over by Buffalo and the Southern Bighorns mule deer movements, but we didn't really know anything about the herd up here.
Which is really interesting. We're right in the middle of a migration pathway, aren't we?
Yes and no. So that was part of the study's point, right? Was to find out, okay, where is the migration corridor? Where are these animals moving to and from? Where are those really important habitats to protect and to remove barriers to that migration? And luckily, the Wyoming Migration Initiative took on the study. Carrie Kyle, as Chris mentioned, has led it for the last 2 years and has been very helpful supplying us data.
And the overall goal of this entire thing is to basically know where we're at in their movements and how we can help them get from point A to point B.
Exactly. If we're trying to do conservation work to benefit mule deer and we don't know where they are or where it's important, we can't really do that work. So that's what the study is allowing us to do, is to concentrate those efforts and figure out, once again, maybe there's a bottleneck, right? If with the movement data, if you can see, oh, wow, they're not able to go here, you might see that, okay, that's maybe a fence that's stopping their movement. Maybe there's something we can do that doesn't get rid of that fence because it's probably important for, the rancher, the homeowner, but how can we maybe modify it so that the deer are able to access better habitat or more habitat?
And tell me about these fences. Friendly fences? What do you call these things?
Yeah, so we've been talking about wildlife-friendly fences, and so what those are, they can look like a lot of different things, but the major point of them is that they serve their initial purpose. So, maybe that's containing sheep, cattle, horses, whatever it is, but they still allow for wildlife to cross them without getting tangled up. So that's going to decrease the number of fence repairs, as well as the number of animals that are getting caught in the fence and dying. Generally speaking, that looks like lowering your top wire so that the animal can jump over it easier, and raising your bottom wire so the animals can slide under it easier.
Now, how can regular folk help out with this study?
Regular folk, anyone in the community, they can help out by coming to, we'll be hosting more volunteer events next summer. We're hoping to do some fence removals. This last summer, we did, I think, 4 fence removal projects. We removed about 3 miles of fences, and all of these were places where one was on the Forest Service, the rest were private land, and they were all areas where the landowner or manager had identified, I no longer need this fence. It's not serving a purpose, but it is getting in the way of animals, so let's get rid of it. And having volunteers come out, you get to pull posts, you get to roll wires. We're hoping to do some fence modifications this next summer for those areas where, yeah, the fence really does need to be there, but we can make it easier for them to cross. And we're hoping to host volunteer projects with that. Another thing you can do, if you know that maybe you own some land and you've really worked hard to make sure it's good wildlife habitat, you enjoy seeing mule deer on it, you enjoy seeing elk on it, you can look into a voluntary conservation agreement or a conservation easement to make sure that the work you've done is protected and it won't be lost 50 years from now when you're no longer on your land.
And that was going to be my next question. So to start that, what do I need to do?
To start that, you can contact our office. I am happy to answer any questions about conservation easements and what it might look like on your land. We have a lot of literature on our website as well. We're happy to talk you through that process.
Now, I'm sure, a lot of people out there who may not fully understand conservation easements are concerned. Where does the ownership become involved in this, and am I still allowed to do whatever I want on my own land? I mean, I'm not surrendering all rights to you, right?
No, absolutely not. So with a conservation easement, you retain ownership of your land. You are still in charge of your day-to-day decisions. So, what you're planting, what you're grazing, those sorts of things, those are left to you. Who you sell it to, that's left to you. What a conservation easement does is you are agreeing to donate or sell your development right to the to the Sharon Community Land Trust. And what that means is that land that you've really protected the stream, you've protected the wildlife habitat, maybe you have really great soil that is productive and makes food for us, that's not going to be turned into houses, is basically what a conservation easement does.
And you've done quite a few of these throughout the community, haven't you?
Yeah, we hold conservation easements across the county. I believe we have 11 right now. So it's something that I think in 2006, that was basically what we were founded to do, was conservation easements.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they protect our viewshed, they protect our wildlife habitat, they protect our watersheds. It's a really great way to balance the growth of Sheridan with what makes all of us love Sheridan, right? Which is that open spaces around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, how long does the process take from start to finish?
Oh, man, that's a tricky question. So with a donated easement, and with a donated easement, the landowner gets a tax deduction. That can take as little as about a year to a year and a half. There's another route where we actually are able to pay landowners for giving up that development right, and that's going to be a longer process. That's going to take probably 3 to 5 years. So it's not a quick decision, but considering how long this lasts for, it goes with your land in perpetuity, it's not something you want to rush, and that's why it is a little bit longer process.
Protecting land for future generations. So that when I step out my door, I'm still looking at the Wyoming bighorns instead of more development, right?
Absolutely.
Something that I think everybody can agree on. All right. Megan, Lila, Chris, I greatly appreciate you guys coming in today. We've run out of time, but thank you for all the work that you're doing to help preserve the land for the future, preserve our watershed for the future, and be one of the greatest town criers I've ever known. If you've got something, you got to make it quick, brother.
And, contact Sheridan CLT, like communitylandtrust.org. Megan would love to work on a conservation project for you. You might just get more bang for your buck. You can fawn over our does.
Nice. Been waiting to crack that jab. I like it. All right. When we come back, we're going to speak with the Wyoming Wildlife Federation. This is Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams and opportunities, and more importantly, family. We'll take time to get to know you. Then we'll develop a unique wealth management plan that works hard, just like you. To learn more about who we are and what our wealth management advisors can do for you, visit Eliason Financial online or call 307-672-3010. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC.
Having your own business can be overwhelming. Parker Mellinger can make your life easier with our payroll preparation, accounting, and tax services. Our fixed price agreement is set according to your needs and features unlimited phone calls and meetings for one monthly fee. Choose only the services you need, and we will tailor them to fit your business. Call today to see how we can provide you with cost-effective solutions. Parker Mellinger, 1811 South Sheridan Avenue, Sheridan.
When the roads turn bad, you find out in a hurry if you need new tires. Hi, this is Chris Hayden with Hammer Chevrolet. Come in and let's get a new set of tires on your vehicle and get you safely on your way. We carry brand names like BF Goodrich, Bridgestone, Continental, Dunlop, Firestone, Goodyear, Michelin, Pirelli, Uniroyal, and more. With our price match guarantee, you never have to wait for a tire sale. Provide us with a better price at the time of purchase, and we'll match it. Find a better price within 30 days of the purchase, and we'll refund the difference. You can't beat our tire price match guarantee from Hammer Chevrolet. Online at hammerchevy.com.
When the unexpected happens, you may wonder what's next. Champion Funeral Home can help you through this phase of life. They provide support and personal services while helping you create a meaningful tribute to your loved one. Champion Funeral Home has been locally owned and operated since 1911, providing compassion and care to Sheridan and Johnson County. Visit Champion Funeral Home at championfh.com or call 674-6329.
Every 4 years, the citizens of Sheridan County have the opportunity to vote on the county's general purpose excise tax, known as the 1 cent optional. This tax is used to benefit every community throughout our county on things from social and health services to public facilities and infrastructure, including parks and pathways. For more information on the tax, please contact your elected officials or visit SheridanCounty1cent.com and vote on November 8th. Message paid for by Sheridan County.
Whether you fill out the community survey, attend a listening session, or just want to hear the preliminary results, we want you. Come to the Community Review Town Hall meeting on Thursday, November 3rd from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the WYO Theater Black Box. Your input will help prioritize topics from the survey and listening sessions. Your suggestions will influence where future dollars are spent in Sheridan County. No reservations are needed, just show up. Click on the Thrive 2035 logo on SheridanCounty.com for more information.
Good morning and welcome back to Public Pulse, brought to you by our friends out there at Alliance and Financial. I'm Floyd Whiting. Founded in 1937, the Wyoming Wildlife Federation is the oldest and largest sportsmen's advocacy and conservation organization in the state of Wyoming. Their vision is a cowboy state filled with well-conserved fish and wildlife populations, healthy habitats, and engaged citizens. This morning, I am joined by the Federation's Education Director, Andrea Barb-Connect. Good morning, Andrea.
Thanks.
Go ahead, pull that mic just right in close to you. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the Education Director of the WWF.
Well, like most people, my path wasn't exactly straight. I spent about a decade as a wildlife biologist, working various jobs, and also worked as a teacher from preschool on up to college. So this job really combines both of my passions, science and, getting out there and teaching people really cool stuff.
Science. I love having a scientist to speak to, especially a biologist. I studied a little bit of biology in college. What strategies are employed by the WWF to promote a Wyoming filled with well-conserved fish and wildlife populations?
So as a sportsman's organization, we tend to be very practical and pragmatic and common sense about our approach to conservation. We know that a well-conserved habitat and wildlife is really important to folks across the state, but especially that sportsman's group. So what we do is we do the gamut. We do on-the-ground habitat projects, and that could be taking down fences and migration corridors or building up streams so that we have great fish populations. We also spend the entire time at the Wyoming State Legislature making sure that everything that gets passed that has to do with wildlife is a good bill as far as we can help it be so. We do a huge stuff at the Washington level. Our executive director was in Washington, D.C. for the signing of an agreement between the USDA and the state of Wyoming that will help reimburse private landowners for migration corridors that go through their property. And that's a pilot program that could be employed throughout the nation if it works well in Wyoming. So we really run the gamut.
We were just talking with the Sheridan Community Land Trust over that same issue and how some folks around here have taken the steps to conserve that migration corridor and the studies that are going on, which I believe your organization is a part of all of that, aren't you?
Absolutely. We've been working with the state as they go through the corridor designation process, creating that process, and then getting those corridors designated so that we can make sure, at least on public lands, and now we're bringing in those private lands, that those animals are able to move across the landscape and we have healthy populations.
And essentially, these migration corridors have been around since, holy cow.
Since we've had animals.
Since we've had animals. We just happen to kind of get in their way here and there. And so we're getting back to helping them out. Now, what are the duties and the responsibilities of an education director at the Federation?
Well, the fun thing about working for a nonprofit is that I sort of get to create my own job.
Oh, that is cool.
So we do adult education. We have a Wildlife on Tap series in a couple of cities. We have right now Lander and Jackson. We'd love to expand it, but that's where we get experts to come in and just have a casual chat in a bar about their work. Then we go down to, we work with schools, and our work with schools includes creating wildlife-based curriculum that gets kids outside and that has relevance for them. Because Wyoming's such a small state, they don't really need to learn about whale migrations when they have this amazing, like, mule deer migration that's 120 miles long right here in their own state. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We love to make things relevant, and we want to work it in so that the teachers don't have to go outside of all of these huge requirements that they have to teach the kids. So we want to make it both relevant to the kids, relevant to Wyoming, and also, keeping with those state standards so that the teachers can meet their responsibilities to the kids. And then we work directly with kids. We do summer camps across the state.
Oh, really?
Yep. We get kids outside, get them playing outside, having those positive experiences and gaining those positive skills that will make them lifelong outdoors people and lifelong advocates for all of these natural areas.
Andrea, going into the biology sciences, I can understand that you had that natural curiosity regarding life and the fascination with that. How amazing is it that you can now share that with kids regarding things that are right outside of their window? That, because like you said, a lot of places, I want to teach you about the whale migration. Okay, well, that's great. I myself, 42 years old, have never seen a whale in the wild. I've seen one, caged up, but I've never seen one in the wild. Deer, they're literally right outside my door eating pumpkins.
Yep.
So I love this idea that we're getting kids engaged right here where they live to appreciate the life that's right outside of their door. Now, tell me what brought you here to Sheridan then.
So this week in Sheridan, we're doing a couple of really exciting projects. We have 3 elementary schools who have volunteered to be our pilot for putting in native gardens in school grounds. So we just finished doing our final planting of sagebrush and sage prairie species, grasses and flowers, and those will come up in the spring. And then we have a series of lesson plans that the teachers can use to just take those kids out there and experience right in their own backyards all of these really cool Wyoming species. Having kids bust out, even though we have great natural resources, it's really hard to get a bunch of kids on a bus. It's expensive. It takes a lot of time. And being able to just go out their back door and take all of the logistics out of that means that those teachers can teach more about those Wyoming plants.
That's fascinating. How many schools have you been able to work with?
So we've got 3 schools that we're working with, Coffeen, Meadowlark, and Woodland Park. All have gardens now.
Have you explored discussions within other districts, this great kind of pilot?
Yep. So now that we've got our pilot project underway, we're going to start offering it to schools across the state. And so Sheridan will be our model for just expanding this great project.
Andrea, who developed this idea?
I did.
Oh, you did. That's absolutely amazing. What brought it about? You were like, you know what? I just want kids to be able to experience it right here.
Yeah. So we had been working with a lot of teachers who are doing, they want to get their kids out doing stuff. And we were working on an invasive species curriculum because invasive plant species and aquatic invasive species, they're always in the news because they're a big problem for Wyoming. And it was very difficult for the teachers to get out and have like a field day with their students because it just takes so much logistic. COVID didn't help, but it takes so much logistics. And that really got the ball rolling on they need something that they can just like walk out their back door and use.
Because that's really science, isn't it? Yes, we have to study the stuff in books. We got to look back on the science that has been done in the past. But at the same time, to actually be a scientist, if we can show kids, this is getting dirty. This is getting in the dirt. You're being outside. Their science is accomplished. And I think that's a fantastic program. Now, is there a science checklist of things a kiddo can observe when they're doing this kind of thing? Or the teacher has the curriculum and the decision at the end? This is what we're going to study today.
So generally speaking, we work directly with teachers and give them sort of lessons that they can work in. But we also, try to get information out to families because that's another place where a lot of learning happens. So we do, backyard scavenger hunts, and this is what's happening this time of year. Like in the spring, we talk about fawns, and we try to get that out on our social media. All of those really cool, hey, this is science you can do at home kind of things.
Now, what are some plants that we can plant right outside of our house that may attract some deer, may attract some Wyoming wildlife, some native plants that we can have and maybe even cut down on the maintenance?
So I don't know if folks want to necessarily attract deer to their yard. Sometimes they're trying to keep them out.
Exactly, yeah.
Deer in the winter tend to be browsers. They love things like chokecherry and bitterbrush and rabbitbrush. And then when we get into like the grasses and the flowers, what we really like to see is all of those different pollinators. Wyoming has more than 100 different species of bees, and folks don't know that.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So we've got all of these different pollinators that if we plant those native things like bee balm, like showy milkweed, like blanket flower, you can see all of these different pollinators right there in your own yard.
Now, what are some other techniques that you employ to engage children within Wyoming biology as an educator?
So number one is hands-on. We want to get them out there being hands-on. Yes.
No, I'm giving him signals, yeah.
Number two is games. We love to teach through games, through learning. That's one way we teach about habitat through a game called Oh Deer, where they get to pretend to be different aspects of the habitat, and then they have to be deer and race to grab that aspect of the habitat. And oh no, we ran out of water. And then that kid is going, oh wait, I don't have what I need. And that's a much more visceral and much more, active learning than just reading it in a book.
Absolutely. It gets kids more involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a memory sets in with lessons like that. And once that memory is set, well, you remember the lessons that go right along with that fantastic memory of running through all your friends trying to get the right resource.
Yep.
Now, how can parents engage and educate their children in Wyoming while they're out camping or hiking?
Mm-hmm.
What are some techniques that we can use and to enrich those experiences?
Well, number one is getting your kids outside. Just being out there is so vital and so important. Number two is, I'm a parent too, easing off those safety controls and being like, okay, you can climb that tree. Let's see what's under that log. So just, letting them really interact and take little risks in that environment really helps both developmentally and just in their appreciation of what's out there.
Andrea, I want to thank you for coming in today. Thank you so much for everything that you do and helping to educate our children on the great biology, the life, and the joy that Wyoming provides us every single day.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. It's been great.
All right, you've been listening to Public Pulse on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Share.
At Eliason Financial, money management isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about dreams